What's up, everyone? Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Victorious Ones Podcast, the place where gaming meets comics, meets sports, meets movies, as well as inspiration. Of course, I'm your host, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter/X at 301 King Von Jr. You can also follow the show's Twitter/X page, Victory Pod 1. You can also follow me on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. as well as the show's Instagram page at Victorious Ones Podcast. Of course, I'm also the social media producer for the Unpopular Reviews wrestling show Perfect Plex Talk Radio, hosted by Mike Knox on Mondays at 6 p.m. And so, of course, there's a little schedule shift. There's a lot to talk about. But at the same time, of course, on Wednesday, I went to a concert. Shout out to going to Todd Delaney's concert, one of the top gospel artists of our time these days. I was like, you know what, why not? Shout out to FBCG's Young Adult Ministry release. You know what I mean? But also, there's outside of that, there's a lot to talk about. Of course, this past weekend I went to the University of Maryland's Homecoming, and of course, congratulations! Shout out to the Terps, University of Maryland, for defeating USC, the USC Trojans, 29-28. I mean, it was the game of the night, the game of the weekend. You know what I mean? And of course, I was glad to be a part of that history. And so for the people that saw it on TV, I was there in real time witnessing it. And of course, it was definitely a very rewarding and memorable experience. And we're definitely going to be seeing more of USC in the future, especially since now they're in the same division, Big Ten. And of course, when it comes to football news, of course, I'll go over some of the scores for NFL Week 7, as well as the week in wrestling. When it came to last week's Smackdown, Raw, NXT, along with the PWI Women's 250, especially when it comes to my top 10, as well as that, along with my thoughts about Undertaker having, Agent Orange on his podcast. Not too surprising considering, what side he leans on, but at the same time, as a long time Taker fan, not so much. But anyway, of course, without further ado, I'm going to go into these NFL Week 7 results. The Broncos destroy the Saints 33-10. The Jags defeat the Patriots 32-16. The Lions defeat the Vikings. Defeat the Vikings in a close one, 31-29. The Bills just smashed the Titans 34-10. Of course, the Colts defeat the Dolphins 16-10. The Seahawks crush the Falcons 34-14. Packers defeat the Texans 24-22. Bengals defeat the Browns 21-14. Eagles stomp out the Giants 28-3. The Rams defeat the Raiders 20-15. The Washington Commodores, Commanders, whatever, they crushed the Panthers 40-7. Of course, the Chiefs defeat the 49ers in a Super Bowl rematch 28-18. The Steelers stomp out the Jets 37-15. Of course, the Ravens defeat the Bucks in a very close game 41-31, and the Cardinals defeat the Chargers 17-15. And I will say that that the game of the weekend was definitely the game of the week was definitely of course, the Ravens defeating the Buccaneers 41-31. Of course, the Steelers just rout the Jets 37-15. Aaron Rodgers at this point, you could very much well say that dude is cooked. But of course, Dallas had a bye week, and they will of course they will face the 49ers in San Francisco as far as a Sunday night primetime game at 8:20. But of course, that should recap when it comes to all things related to football. And of course, the NBA season started up as well. And of course, Bronny made his debut. As a matter of fact, NBA scores. And says as far as that, sorry about that. Let me go into these some of these recent games, and of course, as well, when it comes to the season opener, the Lakers defeat the Timberwolves 110-103. The Celtics just destroy the Knicks 139-102. Just among many other games. I don't really have that much time. The Warriors destroy the Blazers 140-10. It's all within the first week of the NBA season. Celtics crushed the Wizards 122-102. And of course, the Mavs defeat the Spurs 120-109. You know what I mean? And of course, like I said, the NBA is definitely gone up to, a very fascinating start, if you will. But yeah, of course, those are just a recap of, some of the things, outside of all things wrestling. But now it is time to get into, of course, this past weekend wrestling when it comes to SmackDown, Raw, NXT, some of the highlights, of each one. So, of course, this past week for SmackDown, of course, we have Roman Reigns confronting Solo Sikoa. That didn't quite turn out in his favor. Cody Rhodes, addressed Gunther in another promo. We have the Motor City Machine Guns making their debut. And of course, sorry about that. Of course, the opening segment, we saw the SmackDown open up with the video packages before the new Bloodline, Team Bloodline came out to kick off the live show. Of course, Solo said that Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso would acknowledge him by the end of the night. And of course, Jey Uso's music hit and he came through the crowd. He said he cared about Solo because they're still brothers. Of course, Solo's the youngest one out of them all, but he told Solo to think about what he was going to do to the family. He said that of course, that's really what it was. But of course, after that, we also saw the Crown Jewel Championship. I mean, that almost like something that you make on a video game. But of course, we saw the triple threat tag match with Pretty Deadly versus DIY versus Street Profits. The winners of this match, DIY. And next up, we have Piper Niven versus Lash Legend. Great match. And, like I say, a great singles, sort of display or showcase for Lash Legend. Very impressive that she defeated Piper Niven. And, I figured that since Lash Legend slammed Otis, slash Otis, it wouldn't be much of a problem for wouldn't even be a problem for against Piper Niven. And of course, Lash Legend was able to pick up a win by picking up Niven and slamming her with a reverse Samoan drop. And it definitely, they definitely did a great job, at least decent job of making it, feel pretty competitive. And like I said, it was more so to showcase, what Lash can do, even on the main roster. And I know that her and Jakara's sights are still set on of course, Bianca and Jade. That's definitely the dream match feud and everything like that. So, and of course, somewhere down the line, they're definitely going to make up for the lack of time that they received and just how how that first match was disrespected. With the whole Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton segment, whatever that was, which was unnecessary, but that's another story. But of course, Nick Aldis, sorry about that. Of course, Nick Aldis, Nick Aldis introduced the Motor City Machine Guns, guys they had history with in TNA. So as far as that. Of course, the Motor City Machine Guns immediately showed WWE their signature brand of offense and just double team maneuvers and just showing why they've been a real deal for such a long time. And of course, the winners, they went on to face A-Town Down Under as well as Los Garzas, and the winners of this match in their debuts, the Motor City Machine Guns. Next up, we have Nia Jackson, Candice LeRae versus Naomi and Bayley. And so first is because the fact that Tiffany Stratton was under the weather at the last minute, of course Nia Jax asking Nick Aldis, trying to find out who her mystery tag team partner would be. Only find out it ended up being Candice LeRae, and so of course Nia Jax and Candice LeRae defeat Bayley and Naomi. And of course. Sorry about that. Of course, not only that, but of course, sorry about that. The final segment of the night, was when the Bloodline story took center stage as they opened and closed the show. So Solo Sikoa wanted Roman Reigns to acknowledge him in the middle of the ring as a tribal chief. So of course, as they finished the final minutes of the show, and the thing is, Roman acknowledged Solo, but not as a tribal chief. And of course, Solo was laughing. He was like, he started laughing. He's like, he told Roman, I knew that you'll never change. And he was like, neither have I. So that's when Solo snapped his fingers. And, of course, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa and Jacob Fatu, it dragged out Jimmy Uso. And it just sent Roman off. He took out everybody in the bloodline. But the numbers game caught up to him, even after he put that Ula follow on. And, of course, the numbers game caught up with him. And he eventually got decimated. And, of course, that's when the Team Bloodline stood tall, at the end of the night, and of course, continue to advance this story, and it just goes to show how much like I said, just goes to show how much more I would say that Roman and Jimmy really need Jay's help, and so of course initially, like I said, Jay's been brushing them off, and the thing about it was that this is more of a humbling lesson, I believe, for Roman, if nothing else. Especially after Jay won the title and Roman was saying that he's proud of him, rather than just straight up apologizing for traumatizing them and just gaslighting them and just abusing them. You know what I mean? And just that's really ultimately what it came down to. And so even when, like I say, even when Jimmy went to Jay's dressing room, is just like Jay wasn't having it, and at this point, like I say, for right now, Jay still isn't feeling it right now, especially after everything that he had to deal with when it came to the bloodline. And it's fascinating how of course recently Jay was had been the most recent one with a title out of the original iteration of the bloodline. But of course, as well know, of course, this is, just days of our bloodline, just like days of our lives. So you see, after a push by Jimmy Uso to get him to reunite with him and Roman against the Team Bloodline, we see, of course, Jey Uso ironically roll into Philadelphia for Monday night for Raw, and a title defense against Braun Breaker, of course. And of course, we're going to see how that turned out with this recap. And so of course, Raw kicks off with Seth Rollins and Braun Reed, as far as their rivalry. And I'll say that this is definitely an epic way to kick off Raw, and it's great just to see this type of rivalry. And it kind of reminds me of almost like a Sting versus Vader type of thing. And so Seth Rollins is great when it comes to elevating talent, and Bronson Reed is someone who's definitely someone who's definitely on WWE's radar when it comes to the next big thing, when it comes to just a violent, just vicious monster heel. And and of course, like I said, the investment's definitely paying off. And so so as far as that, next up, of course, we have the tag team number one contenders match with the New Day versus the Authors of Pain, accompanied by Karrion Kross. And of course, we all know how how Karrion Kross is trying to get in Xavier Woods' head, talking about how he's the third wheel, and how Kofi and Big E had their success, and Xavier's never had his. But anyway, when it comes to this when it comes to this tournament, the winners of this match, New Day, as they defeat AOP. Then we have Damage Control versus Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, and only for this match to end in a no contest. And so of course, and of course, of course, the thing is, Rhea Ripley arrived to a huge ovation. She has aura, something that Liv Morgan kind of wishes that she has, and of course, she's laid out the heels before trapping Liv Morgan in the prison lock. And so before she could, put Liv down, Dominic Mysterio made the save, rescuing her from rescuing from Rhea's wrath, if you will. And of course, Rhea stood tall as the match. Like I said, of course, is this in a no contest. And of course, we see Raquel Rodriguez cut a promo and pre-taped vignette explain her actions against Rhea Ripley. Especially because of the fact that she hadn't forgot that Rhea had sidelined her with an injury, and so that's her revenge. Of course, her and Liv have been tag team partners. They've even been tag team champions before, of course. And that's something that that live in Raquel, certainly remind, of course, somebody that certainly reminded, I believe it was Damage Control in that backstage segment. And it was also great to see, a Lash Legend and, of course, Jakar Jackson, of course, they get their TV time from ringside. As we also saw them, give a cheap shot to, give a cheap shot that ended up drawing a disqualification. And so, so as far as that, of course, we saw the NXT heels beat down Damage Control. Of course, eventually before Liv Morgan and Raquel had confronted them. So of course, as far as that, then next up we have the tag team number one contenders tournament, match, the LWO versus American Made, and the winners of this match, LWO, Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, defeat American Made. The next, and of course, finally, the main event for the Intercontinental Championship, Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker. And so, of course, this is kind of dicey because of the fact that even though Jay's been very popular as IC champion, it's hard to see Braun Breaker lose back-to-back IC title matches. And so I figured that Jay was going to drop the title, but of course, especially when it comes to this whole intertwining of the bloodline and things like that, as far as that storyline. And of course, like I said, I figured that the Braun was going to get the belt back, and of course, you're going to get more weight this time. You get way more than just a 51-day title reign. As much as some people didn't want to see Jay lose, but when you're caught between a rock and a hard place, it's kind of tough. But it was definitely a great battle to see Jey Uso against Braun Breaker. As it was certainly marred by interference, as the Team Bloodline definitely made their presence known with Solo and Jacob coming out. Solo had had those tickets in his hand. You know what I mean? So of course, after Jey Uso fending off Solo's skull, Jacob fought to Tama Tonga Loa at certain points. It looked as though he was going to hang on and retain the title. Of course, he put down Braun Breaker and delivered his top rope splash, only for Breaker to kick out at 2. From there, of course, after that, that's when Jacob Fatu caught Jey Uso with a super kick and delivered a Samoan drop through the commentary table as he set him up for a super spear from Braun Breaker, who ended up getting the win in his second Intercontinental Championship. To the disdain of the fans of Philadelphia. And so of course, like I said, I figured that the Braun was going to win. Even though initially there was a stare down at one point between Braun and Gunther, but I don't think that that they're going to pull the trigger for that one anytime soon right now. So as far as that, of course, once again, the Bloodline make their presence known. The Team Bloodline make their presence known. First they lay out Roman and Jimmy, and then they lay out Jey Uso. So of course, the road to War Games is definitely revving up. And next up, we have NXT. Of course, with Halloween just around the corner, they're definitely planting the seeds for Halloween Havoc. And of course, after earning another NXT Championship opportunity and laying out Trick Williams, All Ego Ethan Page, is definitely going to face the current champion at their title shot. So as far as that, and of course, we also saw Julian and Stephanie Valkyrie step up to fail influence JCJ and Fallon Henley in the first tag team match to build momentum before colliding with Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. And then we also saw Sky and Kyrie Sane make a stop at NXT to get revenge against, of course, the bougie bully Lash Legend Jakar Jackson. As they both look to challenge for the women's tag titles themselves, and just this huge web of of rivals for these tag titles. And of course, we saw Damage Control versus Metaphor. This match ended in no contest because of interference from Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. So it's just like 4 women, sort of like a fatal 4-way, women's tag teams or whatever. And of course, shout out to Chelsea Green for dressing up like Alicia Silverstone from Clueless. I saw that, as if one of my favorite movies, by the way. I thought that was pretty cool. And of course, we have Jada Parker versus Tatum Paxley. Of course, the winner of that match, no other than Miss Parker herself. Then we also have Obafemi versus Luca Crucifino, who's part of Tony D'Angelo's family. And the winner of this match, of course, by pinfall, Obafemi, who's the number one contender for the NXT North American Championship against the Don Tony D'Angelo. Of course, we see that Ethan Page warns Trick Williams that he'll go through hell on Sunday. And, and of course, just reminding, reminding Trick of, Ethan reminded Trick of his own experiences of his own past of wrestling for 17 years and, having to get cut and having to bleed through it, just dealing with all type of hardcore matches and things like that. Of course, Trick Williams came out, with the white fur coat. I call him a Trick Flair right now, or Trick Willie Dynamite, a little inside joke, but, if you know, you know. But of course, after that, Trick Williams just reminded Ethan Page of his pedigree, of his resume on NXT, of how he defeated Carmelo Hayes, how he went through Ilya Dragunov, and how he eventually went through Ethan Page to win back the NXT Championship. And so, so of course he was just letting them know that hey look, I'm not just style, I have substance as well. You know what I mean? And so, so as far as that, and of course, Trick Williams known for doing diss records, but of course, Ethan Page had diss track against him based off like Nightmare on Elm Street. You know what I mean? Like Freddy Krueger type of thing. And of course, we have Sol Ruka versus Carmen Petrovic, aka the Kill Bill Girl. Sol Ruka won by way of pinfall. Next up, we have OTM versus Hank and Tank. And of course, the winners of that match, Hank and Tank by way of pinfall. We have Julian and Stephanie Vacquier versus Fatal Influence. The winners of that match, Julian and Stephanie Vacquier, which is pretty obvious. And of course, we also have, we also had a match between, what was that? Like I said, as far as that, like I say, of course, we also saw Nikita Lyons. Of course, when she was in the backstage segment, Obafemi gave her a coat. You know what I mean? And so, so as far as that, like I said, so let me slow down. But yeah, pretty much as far as that, like I said, of course, like some of that, like I said, as far as when it comes to, when it comes to Nikita Lyons, I mean, I know she's back, but at the same time, it's just like it's a question of how impactful is she going to be, especially after having double knee braces, and as far as that, what type of mobility she's going to have in the future. That's definitely like a bit of, a pretty big, sort of eyebrow raiser, if you will. Especially, of course, pretty intriguing to have a feud with her and Lola Vice. But yeah, like I said, as far as that NXT, I think it turned out pretty well. Going into this, Halloween Happy match, and I can't wait for it. And another thing I had to talk about as well, But yeah, but like I said, as far as that, like I said, of course, another thing I got to talk about, I got to get this out the way. Samantha Irvin has made her exit from WWE, her departure from WWE. She made the announcement, at least let them know months ahead of time, but the announcement was made official by way of this Monday, and it definitely sent shockwaves. It was a bombshell. Everybody we know was going crazy. I had people text me, ask me about it, like, really, she's gone? I said, yeah. And Lillian Garcia has returned and taken her place and returned full time. And it's funny how how Lillian passes torch to Samantha, but now Samantha's passing torch back to her. It's funny how it works. It's crazy how that works, right? But when it comes to ring announcers, I will quickly say this: Samantha Irvin is I would say in my Rushmore of wrestling ring announcers. You look at Howard Finkel, you look at Lillian Garcia, you look at Tony Chimmel, and you look at Samantha Irvin. Even though her time with WWE was, was pretty brief, but the impact that she made speaks volumes. I think that she was the best announcer for Roman Reigns. Certainly the best announcer for Cody as well. But I would say that her best work was when she would announce Roman. That's just me personally. Next up, we're going to go into some of that. I'm going to the PWI top 10, PWI 250. Excuse me, the top 10 of the 250. And so let me see what it is. Goes down. But yeah, so the original top, like I said, the original top 10. Of course, congratulations. Sorry about that. Of course, congratulations to Timeless Tony Storm for being ranked number 1 on the PWI Women's 250. So Pro Wrestling Illustrated, of course, released their their list of the top 250 women's wrestlers. And so let me see. See what this top 10 is looking like right now. So it's just like I'm not really, like I said, I'm not really tripping off it when it comes to, Tony Storm, like I said, being number 1 on the list. But let me see. Okay. 2024. I'll make sure that I got the right list. I'll make sure it's accurate. Yeah, so that. All right, here it is. I just want to make sure that my eyes weren't deceiving me, but of course, of course, here it is. At least the top 10. I'm going to the top 20 really. Number 1, Tony Storm. Number 2, Jordan Grace. Number 3, Rhea Ripley. Number 4, Maika, whoever it is. Number 5, Stephanie Valkyrie. Number 6, Saray, whatever. Number 7, no offense. Number 7, Bailey. Number 8, Willow Nightingale. Number 9, Mariah May. Number 10, Athena. Number 11, Roxanne Perez. 12, Liv Morgan. 13, Io Sky. 14, Mayu Iwatani. 15, Masha Slamovich. 16, Mina Shirakawa. 17, Becky Lynch. 18, Miyu Watanabe. 19, Miyu Yamashita. Number 20, Lara Valkyrie. So that is the top 20. Very alarming that Bianca Belair is not in the top 20, let alone not in the top 10. So, with that being said, if anything, I would revise the top 10 list. So, I know, like I said, I know on Perfect Plex, as far as our top 10, we had Tony Storm, so number 1, Rhea Ripley, number 2, Bailey at 3, Jordan Grace at 4, Roxanne Perez at 5, Bianca Belair at 6, Jenny Hayter at 7. That's what it is. Nia Jax at 8, Liv Morgan at 9, and Athena at 10. Can't really be too mad about that. Nia Jax definitely deserves, at least in my estimation, I put her in the top 10 just because of her improvement since she's made a return. So if anything, I would if anything, I keep Tony at number 1. I would have Rhea at number 2. Then I would go with go with Jordan at number 3. I would go with Bailey at 4, Roxanne at 5, Bianca at 6, Nia at 7, Liv at 8, Athena at 9, and then I'll go with Willow Nightingale at 10. So yeah, you know what I mean. So as far as that, like I said, that's my top 10 of at least my own, the Victorious Ones podcast top 10. of the women's, PWI for the, women's PWI for 2024. At least my top 10 women's wrestlers of 2024 so far. And so yeah, like I said, those are certainly, my thoughts. Like I said, the thoughts and opinions of this podcast, are only reflect the, like I said, the views. Like I said, of course, the views and opinions of this podcast are strictly the views and opinions of the podcast host. That's all I'll say about that. But yeah, like I said, as far as the top 10, you know what I mean? Like I said, as far as that, those are only real revisions that I would make. You know what I mean? And the only reason why Bianca's not higher is because of the fact that she's in this tag team situation with Jade Cargill. The way that she's carrying Jade, and Jade needs, at this point, right now she definitely needs to be carried and have as much, like I said, just to cover up her flaws and to at least help her elevate her game. You know what I mean? And so of course, who better to bounce off from than someone like Bianca Belair, who's arguably, pretty much the Cena of the women's division, as they say. And when you have a tag team partner of that caliber, hey, they ain't nothing, nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to that. So it's definitely like a great woman to learn from. So of course, those are my thoughts on of course when it comes to the PWI Women's 250. And so another thing I really want to sort of get off my chest right now. Yeah, it's a tough one. So recently, Mark Calloway, artist formerly known as The Undertaker, had quite an interview on his latest podcast, 6 Feet Under. This is his venture post-retirement, decided to start doing podcasts. How about that? A guy whose career was spent, career was made for being a rather silent character, a man of very few words, has now become a man of very many words. And now, like I said, a guy with the microphone, but also, like I said, someone who has plenty of stories because of all of his years in wrestling and what he's done, especially, like being one of the top guys in the industry whatsoever. Highly respected, held in very high regard. The consummate locker room leader, locker room general. He was definitely Vince's, you could say sort of like hired gun, if you will. Someone who on Vince's doc said that he would take a bullet for Vince. So he's talking about hired gun, right? If anybody was going to be Vince's appointed mercenary, it definitely would have been Undertaker. Like I said, he's someone who, for the longest time, I've held in the highest regard. Up there, if not even more than Brett, or even Austin, and guys like that. Even they all knew, that Taker was the bar when it came to respect. Cena himself has said that, and so I certainly admire Undertaker's wrestling accolades. What he's done, what he did for WrestleMania as a WrestleMania phenom, the icon, and everything like that. He's making a strong argument for, he's pretty much widely considered, if not the GOAT of WrestleMania. The only other guy that would make a case for that would be. So of course, this guy was known for a WrestleMania streak. He was certainly a pioneer when it came to Hell in a Cell matches, boiler room brawls, stuff like that. No, I'm not. Wi-Fi. All right, cool. Sorry about that, but yeah, like I said, as far as that, he's definitely a trendsetter in so many different ways when it came to just revolutionizing, what it meant to be a big man. All that being said, that is why it was very alarming, very rather coming for a loop that he invited Agent Orange Adolf, Donald Trump, on his podcast. Both him and King stood on each side, sat on each side with Trump. Meanwhile, Batista's, promoting Kamala Harris. So they had this whole campaign thing, are you with Team Batista and Kamala, or are you Team Taker and Trump, right? So shout out to Kamala, and Batista. But yeah, like I said, as far as that, but the thing is, of course, the thing is, Um, as much as it disappoints me to say, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna stand 10 toes down with it. You know, I don't care what nobody thinks. Undertaker, Mark, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call him, definitely lost major cool points with me. You know, and the thing is, and like I said, because of his reputation, because of the way he always carried himself, you know, is a very very respectful guy. You know what I mean? Like I said, very like well spoken, a type of man, man's man, type of individual. But at the same time, it's just like, he clearly has certain ideals, viewpoints, ideologies, or whatever that he sees, that makes him gravitate towards someone like Trump. But here's the thing about it, right? When it comes to Trump, let me say it like this. I know I just voted, but anyway, but the thing is, people have their, political views and, vote based off of what their interests are and yada, yada, yada. It's a free country, vote based on what your interests are, right? Vote based on those type of things. But, when you align yourself with someone as alarming and as divisive as Trump, that's when you sound the alarm. That's very concerning because, the things that Trump does is not even politic related. It's not even, there's nothing politically correct about Trump whatsoever. Like I said, as I've said on my own page, the thing is, and of course, thank you very much, for those that stood in solidarity with me as well. But the thing about it, about a guy like Trump is that, there's more than just politics for him. It's about anarchy. That's the guy who said he wanted to rule things, rule the country and his presidency like a dictatorship. His own generals called him a fascist to the core. So, so of course, for those that don't want to hear about that, don't really want to hear this, you can go ahead and, just tune this out. But hey, it is what it is. Like I said, no stone unturned. So, like I said, I'm going to go and sound off. Like I said, there's nothing politically correct when it comes to Trump. You know what I mean? Even though he's part of a party that's known for was known for family values, there's nothing family value related about this dude at all. You know what I mean? Like I say, of course, obviously with with the affair with Stormy Daniels, him saying what he said on the Access Hollywood tape about grabbing women by, grabbing women by the kitty cat, if you will. We know what the word is. And so very misogynistic. This is the same guy that of course, as we all know, infamously incited a riot of the incited insurrection to riot to create a riot at the United States Capitol. This guy incited insurrection, an entire insurrection at the Capitol in D.C. to overthrow the United States government. This is the same guy, like I said, who incited an insurrection, told them to invade the Capitol, and he sat back watching the video play out and laughed. You know what I mean? And like I said, and there are people who got hurt, who got killed out there. You know what I mean? Like just seriously harmed. Like I say, in the midst of that insurrection, vandalized. You know what I mean? Like just stealing podiums, stealing mail, having a noose, talking about hanging his former Vice President Mike Pence and things like that. You know what I mean? Like this. Like I said, there's nothing political about that at all. And like I say, the guy who incited an entire insurrection at the United States Capitol to overthrow the government, all because he did not get his way. It's the same guy who wanted to siphon over 11,000 votes in Georgia, because he thought the election was rigged because he was surprised and disappointed by the high voter turnout out in Georgia. And so, of course, he wanted to find those 11,000 votes and steal them in his favor. This guy's a treasonous. You know what I mean? As far as that, and this the same guy who's said disparaging things about Haiti and African countries, calling them S-hole countries, and of course calling people like Kaepernick and protesters and call them ungrateful SOBs, and if somebody of course said quote unquote disrespects the flag by kneeling, they need to be fired, all type of stuff, like using that type of rhetoric. I mean, like the list goes on and on and on, and so Not to mention also, this is the same guy who was convicted in all caps of 34 felonies, by the way. So I'm voicing this out, the same stuff that aired, that typed online. I'm voicing out right now. And of course, I have zero tolerance for it whatsoever. You know what I mean? So if anybody feels some type of way, let them feel. If they hate, let them hate. Let them feel any type of way they want to. You know what I mean? And so so of course, and the thing I say all that to say that for someone, like I said, for someone like Taker, I don't care how conservative you are, it's still disturbing to see yourself, to see someone like that choose that side of history that he wants to be on. So aligning with him, interviewing him and stuff like that, you're letting everybody know where you stand, what your true colors are. This is warfare that we're dealing with right now, and people are showing what their true colors are. They say that that they're like whoever they align themselves with, give their allegiance to. Like I said, they're telling you what their true colors and intentions have been this whole time. And so as painful as it is, but at the same time, I don't really see his brand taking that much of a hit the way that the way that Hogan's brand took the hit, because of that, him going on a racist tirade, and and a lot of other inflammatory racist things that he said, even along with that phone conversation that he had with his son, saying they don't get reincarnated and return as black dudes, type of stupid stuff like that, So along with that, along with Hogan being at that RNC rally, making a mockery of himself. So yeah, so you want to talk about somebody whose brand has been, tarnished. I mean, look no further than Hogan. But at the same time, of course, Jericho had Trump Jr. on his podcast before. That's why I had to tune out. I was like, you know what? Let me cut the cord with Jericho. And it's painful to do that when it comes to someone like Taker, because I respect them way more than I respect both those other dudes. But at the same time, it's just like, that fine line of trying to separate the character from the man, but still, it's just like, you can't even look at him the same way after that. It just taints your perception. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, ugh, it's just like, and like I said, I'm not the only Taker fan who who felt some type of way about that. You know what I mean? And so it's just like I said, I stand 10 toes down with it. Stand 10 toes down with my views. Stand all the way like the Statue of Liberty, right? And so of course, anybody who feels some type of way, like I said, it is what it is. I'm not going to change my viewpoints. I'm like I said, I'm gonna stand on my convictions, and it is what it is. If like I said, if you don't like it, excuse the expression, but hey, tough titty, and it's, excuse the expression, but tough titty, too bad, too bad, tough titty, what I mean? Excuse the expression, but yeah, what I mean? Like, hey, I'm not changing my mind, sorry, not sorry. So hey, you know what I mean? So hey, if feel some type of way, you know what I mean? Like I said, if we could, respectfully agree to disagree, but and keep it moving. But the thing is, like I said, when it comes to someone as who uses such harmful rhetoric, and his record speaks for itself, I don't even have to go any further when it comes to that. You know what I mean? So I think of course history speaks for itself. So for people to align themselves with someone as divisive as that, no matter who you are, like I say, you've chosen what side of history you want to be on. And like I say, of course, when people show you what they are, believe them. And so of course, unfortunately, Taker / Mark, Mark, the artist formerly known as Undertaker, he's shown me who he is. So I gotta believe it. And of course, of course, as far as that, that's if anything, that's pretty much it at this point. But yeah, of course, on a lighter note, that pretty much concludes a lot of a lot of my segments, and so now it is time and at least some of that. But on the bright side, it is time for me to give, some of that. Of course, it's time for me to give my birthday shout outs. And so, without further ado, on October 19th, Thundercat turned 40. Can you believe that? Evander the Real Deal Holyfield turned 62. On October 20th, of course, hip hop legend Snoop Dogg turned 53. Razor Ramon would have turned 66. Of course, I said that last week. But of course, Chavo Guerrero turned 54. So of course, as far as October 22nd, Anthony Brown, of course, a multi-time Stellar Award winner, turns 43. And of course, and of course, on October 24th, of course, Monica, the singer, of course, Monica turns 44. Of course, Drake turned 38. Monica Minette turned 35. Of course, Jalen Ramsey turns 30. And of course, on October 25th, Bootsy Collins turns 73. October 26th, CM Punk turns 46. October 26th, Angela Rye turns 45. And that's your
what challenge?
Of course, that concludes of course my birthdays. And so hold on, I'm recording right now. I'm almost finished. It's World Series 5. But yeah, like I said, as far as that, what I mean, if anything, matter of fact, there's been like I said, excuse me, like I said, if anything, like I said, October's definitely been, like I said, quite a month for some pretty big birthdays. But yeah, like I said, those some of the birthdays that are being celebrated this week. And so, before I go, I would like to give a word of wisdom. And that, of course, like I said, before I go, I would like to give a word of wisdom, and that is, do not follow the patterns of the world, of the culture, to try to fit in. I mean, and of course, but just just become more food. How about that? But yeah, and of course, like I say, when it comes to my word of wisdom, and that is, don't cave into the pressures of the world, the peer pressures of the world of society, but to walk into the identity that God has created you to be, that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Do not, like I said, do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you will know what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. You know what I mean? And so, So as far as that, like I said, walking the identity and the purpose that God has created for you to walk in, and like I said, do not cave in to the influences of peer pressure and those around you. Like I said, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You know what I mean? So of course, that is my, like I said, that's my word of wisdom. And of course, that concludes this episode. And of course, you are victorious, because greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. When you put God in first place, you don't have to worry about being in the last place. Please make sure to listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else that you download podcasts. And also, of course, please make sure to watch this on YouTube. Of course, youtube.com/@VonResper Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening and watching. And may this day be the very best day of your life. Thank you very much.